I am Marwan Cameron, and this is The Conduit. All right, y'all. It is Monday, my favorite day, September 6th, 2021. It is 75 degrees in Kitsap County. I hope that you all are having a productive day. I know that I have. I am doing the best that I can. As you know, I am fighting COVID right now. And man, this thing is horrible. I today have now lost my sense of smell and my sense of taste. How horrible. It's horrible. I actually decided to make my famous spaghetti and had Rob bring some spaghetti sauce for me to make my recipe. And I was wondering about the sausage. I'm like, the sausage doesn't look right. Not sure if it smells right, but I can't smell anything. So I opened up a new pack and still really couldn't tell. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go in the bathroom, grab one of my best colognes and spray it on my wrist. I couldn't smell anything. I'm like, oh man, my sense of smell is gone. So I don't know how long it's been like that, but it is gone. I made the spaghetti, get a nice big bowl, sit down. I'm ready to, eat this thing, take a bite. I'm like, what's going on? I don't taste anything. Take another bite. I'm like, am I tripping? No, I lost it. It's gone. So yeah, I've lost my sense of taste, my loss of my sense of smell. Um, just going through it. But, I am here today. As always, we must continue, and that is important. So we are. And today, we have some important folks coming on to the podcast. We've got Martitha and Akuyea Karen Vargas coming on. So very excited to have them coming on, and we may be joined by some other folks. And as you may or may not know, they are the program folks of the 9/11 SOS. So this is the 6th annual 9/11 Sacrifice of Service, National Day of Service and Remembrance that they are putting on. They are being joined by the city of Bremerton, of course, Martitha Mays, Kitsap Mesa Redonda, and Akuyea Karen Vargas's Living Life Leadership. And alongside that is Peninsula Community Health Services, Kitsap County Public Health, Kitsap County Department of Emergency Management. And so they're asking you to join them to honor first responders and emergency preparedness on 9/11 at Evergreen Park at 9/11 is when it will start, and it will go from 9/11 to 12 p.m. As I was saying yesterday, 20 years. It's amazing that much time has passed. So I really wish that I could be in attendance, but of course, I will need to stay home and stay safe. So I will be doing that, unfortunately. But yeah, these ladies will be coming on soon to have a conversation because I actually, in all honesty, I know about the memorial that's in Evergreen Park. And the way that I actually found out about it was when Pokemon Go was a big thing, right? It was actually a Pokestop on there. And so through walking through the park, that is Layla and I's favorite park to go to. But we're usually on the kids section, but we're playing Pokemon Go, and it took us over there, and it gives you a little bit of history for all the negatives that game may have been. Learning about some of the local history was actually a really cool thing about Pokemon Go. So that's how I learned about the memorial that was in Evergreen. But I never uh, commemorated 9/11 and did anything around that. And so I think it's important that these ladies have gotten together over the past 6 years to create this day of remembrance. And what I'll say is Martitha and Akuyea both definitely pillars in the community in regards to getting things done, right? Um, and so they're very impressive women to me, as they are folks that do actually get it done. So there's a I can talk about what should happen and what we'd like to do if all these conditions were ideal. And these folks go out and rally folks together and turn an idea into something real and tangible. And so now you're talking about year 6. So definitely appreciative of them for that. And as I said, they'll be coming on here really soon. What I will say too is if you have any questions, do type them in the chat, okay, so that we can get those questions or comments on air and also get them in front of on the podcast so that they can answer your questions or respond to your comment. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Again, the 9/11 memorial will be this Saturday at Evergreen State Park at 9/11. And then this Wednesday, in our month series for the Conduit around emergency preparedness and 9/11, we will have some folks coming to us from Kitsap, Central Kitsap School District, and Kitsap County Public Health. So, again, 5 p.m. on Wednesday, we'll be back here again with another show with, again, Martitha May, Akuyea, and then we'll have some of these other folks from different organizations on there also. So, again, set your reminder. Definitely subscribe, like, and share. If you know of people that could definitely use this information, definitely share it out to them. Being prepared as we go into the fall and winter is definitely important and critical for us to do. I think more so now than ever. I know for me, I'm not a YOLO person, but I am, and I do plan, right? And, set goals and things of that nature. But I haven't really been big on looking at, um, let me see, Martitha's trying to come in now. Let me go ahead and send her the link. I don't know what's going on with this. This is the second time this has done that. So I'm gonna go ahead and resend this to them. Oh, whoops, let me go back here. Let me just do this. And let me send that off really quick here. So I don't know what's going on with that there. We do have some, as we're adding more uh, things into our repertoire to bring you a good show. We got to deal with the bumps that go along with it too. So you can plan, and things can happen. So let me go ahead and send this to them. I was wondering where they were. I'm like, okay, they should be on now, and I don't see them. So here they are. Let me go ahead and send that to them now. All right, so they should have that, and they will be on right now. Try the link I just sent. So probably not very important to you guys as how the sausage is made, but we can set up shows early in advance. As you can see, I've got some auto tracking going on the camera. So things are changing, which is really cool. But there's a lot that you can only fix once you're in a live event, right? So everything behind the scenes is you can measure twice and cut once, and then when the show starts it's like, what is going on? So it is what it is. I've got a slight fever here, so I'll go ahead and just kind of dab myself off every now and then. All right, there we go. How you doing there, Mr. Tamachi?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. How is your day going?
Uh, it's going all right. Is this the same link that Karen and Martitha is
Yeah, I
supposed to
just
be on.
sent it to you're live on air right now, so I just
Okay.
sent it to everyone. And here comes Martitha now. How you
Okay,
doing, Martitha?
doing good. Thank you, Miss Karen. We're waiting. Okay.
Yeah, just tell her
Okay.
to go ahead and log in. I was just
Yes,
telling the
log in.
audience,
Thank you.
um, that we work on this stuff behind the scenes and practice this
Yes.
stuff, and then when we're in a live environment, it is what it is. So I don't know why the
Right.
link that is created for the actual show is not working when the
Yeah.
show starts.
I
So I've
need to.
got to figure that
Yes.
out. But we'll work on that. We'll work on it
Okay.
before Wednesday. But we're
Wonderful.
here. We are here, and that's what matters. So welcome, Akuyea. It is good to see you.
See y'all.
Look at her. She looks great.
I don't know if I'm looking great, but I'm tired. I'm butt tired.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how tired is that? Because that's
That's when you need to sit your tail down. That's butt tired.
all right, butt tired. That's the new one. All right.
She's dealing with she had the flood. Akuye's been working all morning,
all day
with the flood.
What's interesting, and I'd love to have you talk a little bit about that. This month on the Conduit, we talked about 9/11 SOS and emergency preparedness. So we're going to talk about this throughout the month. And here you are on the East Coast dealing with family matters, and then boom, you're faced with a flood. And so this is all centered around emergency preparedness and what to do when these things that you can plan for and things that you can't plan for, right? If I'm not in an earthquake zone, I don't have that insurance. If I'm not in a flood zone, I don't have flood insurance.
That's right.
So what do I do? What's the rally point? Who do I call on?
Yeah.
The rallying point is all hands on deck. Everyone's going to have to jump in and support and help one another, especially when it comes down to crises and disasters. It's all we have is one another to support one another, whether they're our neighbors, whether they're family and friends. We all just have to come together, pull together, support one another through these dramatic times. We can only rely on one another to be able to get through some of these challenges, and sometimes that's a challenge because we don't have that connection, or really don't have the relationship. But in times of crises and in times of trouble, my neighbors and those that are here in my community should be able to come together in a collective way to support one another, so that we all have to face these challenges together. And that's what I'm learning. I'm learning that we are separated and we are divided in a lot of ways, but when it comes down to saving lives and supporting one another through crises, all we have is one another.
So kind of what I'm hearing you say is that it's important that we do establish relationship and have these conversations that we don't always have in our communities with our immediate family, our extended family, our neighbors, our friends on what to do if we find ourselves in these situations. Does that sound about right?
That is right, because one of the things I can say is, even when we were challenged with 9/11 20 years ago, we saw all of the challenges, we saw all of the devastation, and all of us, that was a day that the entire nation came together and we responded in a unified collective way, supporting all of the families and those that was immediately affected by the tragic event and all of those things. And we have to begin to really cultivate that. And what does that really look like in a 2022, going into a 2022, in the on the heels of a pandemic, and moving into this fall and winter season, and knowing that we're still dealing with the pandemic, the COVID, and variances that are manifesting, and all of the weather, and global warming, and climate change, and the list goes on and on as we begin to talk about these things. This is vital for us to talk about, even, man-made crises with racism and everything else that's going on in our nation. We have to be able to sit down and say, look, this is where we're at. And we're going to have to deal with where we're at right now in this time and space. The paradigm has shifted. It's later for us to say, oh, we don't want to wear masks, and oh, we don't want to do that. Lives are being lost. And all of us are being affected. White, black, yellow, green, and others. You know what? This pandemic does not discriminate. Many lives are being lost across all cultural barriers. So no, we need to address this crisis, and we have to begin to move in a way that is going to work on what kind of intervention and prevention, what kind of medical, what kind of policies, whatever it is. We must remove the barriers so that we can begin to talk about how we're going to move forward for humanity. It's not even for our nation. We see that this pandemic has affected the globe, and so we're not alone in all of these things that we're facing, whether they're floods or fires. This is across the globe.
That I think that's really important. Tamachi, would you weigh in on building on the need to cultivate relationship around emergency preparedness, or anything else that Akuyea said, and then we'll go to Martitha.
There's not much I can say to build on that. She covered that just fine.
She tends to drop the mic, huh?
Pretty much.
No, I didn't drop the mic. We all got to be talking about it. And Tom, you can weigh in on this. You've served in our military for almost your entire career. And what I'm saying is, our military plays a role in our national security here. We sit in a county that has at least 4 military installations that, when we're responding to disasters and emergencies, our military, they always step up to the plate and have always, come in and said, this is how we're going to support our nation.
Martitha, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I can say, one thing is that I know that we are moving in the right direction. I know that, people is hearing our voices. We need to be out loud more and come to this type of engagement, having this podcast. That'd be amazing, having more often. But when we're coming into the right direction, talking about equality, equity, and diversity. And one of the things I'm thinking, the community as a whole needs more inclusion. Yes, we're talking about this, and we leaders, the community, but what about the government? Kitsap County, Shipyard. That in Shipyard they have more than 12,000 people there, and
12,000?
Only what I learned is 300 can be people of color or African American. Out of 12,000 is what I learned. Wow. Only 300 holding positions, from African American or people of color. So we need to ask these questions, because I know out of these talks that we've been having with the column and the paper and things like that, hospitals, Kitsap County government jobs, they must have this equity and diversity, equality, and giving the opportunity to people of color to have a good role there, right? To give an opportunity for employment. Psychologists, I've been fighting for this forever, asking, Kitsap County, we need to have bilingual, trilingual personnel, giving the opportunity to psychologists. We need counselors in this county who speaks different languages, not just Spanish. I'm always advocating for the immigrant community. But when it comes to that, professionals, having teachers in school districts, having more diversity, maybe two people, diverse, but we need more inclusion. So we really need to speak out loud and giving the opportunity. I had experience asking to our former Bremerton police chief, to open opportunity to Spanish-speaking bilingual officers and through Mesa Redonda. And I was grateful, said, okay, I want to be opening. Within 2 weeks, it was an open position. Again, I think where do they post it in their website? No, I never saw where was the position, opening position. Do they advertise anywhere else, just maybe internally? So we need really to go there and push. I think we need to put pressure, and I'm sorry for this saying putting pressure, but we need to gather together and continue asking and demanding what we need in here. It's just, we've been asking forever, but now is the time that we all together can request this support to the entire Kitsap County government, going through school districts, as I mentioned. There was an article that they were asking, to the Kitsap Sun, all these, why 1 or 2 of the police officers, maybe they have these positions for people of color. Why not more? Why reporters are not asking the real questions, to people? How do you feel? So I think we have in this community, we need to be more, have accountability, accountable for all of us to request them. You need to be accountable, right? Reaching out. You need to reach out to the community. You need to come to the community. The community has to go to you. Is what I think. All together we can help, eliminating all these gaps, eliminating racism, and bring equity in this county. That's why it's the importance of these events. I mean, it's the 6th. I know last year, because of the pandemic, we weren't able to have the 9/11 SOS event, but we've been working on the daily basis, day and night. Karen Vargas, I mean, always been in touch, on the phone. We're going to be doing this, we're doing that, reaching out to the community, posting in our Facebook pages. Karen was doing the videos as well, also, with the youth, making sure, take care of yourselves, the pandemic, wear a mask. I was making videos. So reaching out to the community, making sure we are there when a disaster happened, like COVID, and bringing, vaccines, having sites available for them, even over the phone, scheduling appointments for our families to go and get the vaccine. This is a disaster. It came the pandemic. They had no money. We were advocating to get the immigrant relief, for example, that way they can have some money, or housing as well. I mean, we need to continue having these conversations, bringing to the table to people that really are holding up high those positions in this county, and bring them and have them accountable to support the community, because again, it takes a village to do this job. And what this job these 2 women started, now people need to be accountable, and we need to bring more to this table to support the community.
I absolutely agree with that. And I think this is how this begins to change, right? I was saying before you came on that I never heard the 9/11 SOS, before now. And that is really because I'm working with the 2 of you on other efforts. And so it is time for us to get beyond, a Facebook post or a tweet or a share, and really come off the sidelines and really get active and get involved in whatever way that is for you, right? We all have different knowledge, skills, and abilities that we can deploy in order to be effective and support those that are the innovators, right? The ones that are creating these grassroots events. And you have created so many different events over time, but other people have to do it. We can't wait for you guys to put something else onto your shoulders. Like, hey, Akuyea can take another boulder, Martitha can take another boulder, and she's done that before. So they can go ahead and get it done. And then what happens is if you step away, does it continue to go or does it collapse right into this black hole and this void? And so it's important that other people step up and not make the assumption that, oh, well, they got it or somebody else will do it. No, they're not. And it does need all of us to do it. So, in saying that, why did this happen 6 years ago? Why did you ladies feel that this 9/11 sacrifice of service needed to be created? What was centered around that? What was the purpose, if you could speak to that?
Akuyea, would you like to talk about how we started?
I can. It was in 2015. The county was having a disaster preparedness, FEMA, first responders, law enforcement, fire, military, hospitals, the organizations, everyone was there, the chamber, everybody was included at that event. And it was held at the Admiral Theater, downtown Bremerton off of Pacific. And when I looked around, there were no communities of color leadership or any kind of representative. It really bothered me. And the only reason that I was privy to it was because we're military and our Legion had attended the event. And I was kind of taken aback that everybody was being given all of this information, all the city government, all the leaders of our county was there, commissioner, everybody was there. And that really that thing hit me so hard. And I said, wow, they're preparing everybody. What about the underserved, underrepresented, diverse community leaders and members? How are they getting this same information? And so Martitha and I went down to the mayor at the time, which was Patty Lent, and we asked for support to make sure to ensure that all of our communities was getting this information. And so we created the 9/11. We said we need to get this information out in other languages. We need to make sure that we were closing the gap, that we were making those connections, that we were getting all the support to those communities. And that's how this event got birthed. That's how it came to be. And so we invited the commissioners, our city leaders, law enforcement, those ones that come alongside to please support us. And it's been an uphill battle. It's been a challenge to really to be able to shift that paradigm and shift those outcomes, to be able to say, look, we can do a good job. But then I was, I had the privilege, and I'll say that I lived on Bainbridge Island. And when Bainbridge Island, the whole county, when they got it, they began to put in their 3-day preparedness plan. They reached out to our Legion. They reached out to the leadership. They reached out to their city government. They reached out to their school districts. Everyone came together. They had a plan. They got all of their native community, their Japanese community, their Filipino community, everybody came in, got it done. I said, so this is the difference. Privilege versus underserved. How does this really work? I said, because what I don't want to see happen is another Katrina, where some communities are giving all the resources and all of the information and being prepared for all of these emergencies. And then some communities are just, left out there, butt out on their own. And those lives are the ones that are being lost and mostly affected and impacted by being unprepared, uninformed, unadvised, unresourced. The goes on. And so that's That's what we really want to shift that paradigm. We don't want to see that happen, because we can be preparing all of our communities better than what we have in the past.
And to that end, before you weigh in there, Martitha, the folks in Texas didn't expect to have that snow event and lose power and lose water and find themselves in that crisis. And I think many of us here in the Pacific Northwest are in that same type situation, right? If there is an emergency, if we have an earthquake, if we get cut off, where do we go for information? Where do we go for supplies? Where do we go to get and seek help? I don't know the answer to that question. Martitha, jump in and pick up where Akuyea left off.
Thank you. So that's why I think we have to come up with a plan as Kitsap County-wide. We need to come up with a plan for the entire community, marginalized community, immigrant community, everyone, people of color, everyone to be included. And this plan, it must also the 3-day kit that which we are requesting. Since 2015, when Karen Vargas and I Akuyea went to the mayor's office requesting, they have the language, they have in different languages the a proclamation of the emergency preparedness, having in different languages, and we want to see in the building all these multiple languages because we wanted inclusion. Hasn't happened. 6 years hasn't happened. So I think right now this is enough. Why? Because they said we don't have the funds. When we address with the fire department and all first responders as well to have flyers, all these materials in multiple languages, same thing, and barriers that no, we don't have funds. Again, that's not okay anymore. I think we all, can through this media, right now, media is so powerful. I think we can demand, and I can say, yes, we can demand to have all the information in multiple languages. That's enough. One of the things that I think I'm planning to bring guest speakers to hear through the podcast, I think we're going to be having Mark, and he already accepted. So next Wednesday, Mark will be here from the Resiliency Rocks. Mark Frost, I invited to come here and talk how can we as a community and our organizations can create a plan for us if we have a disaster, for us to survive, for us to be ready and have something in our hands that right now, if we have a disaster, do you know who can you reach out to? No. You have a contact information to reach out. Hey, have a crew, a team. Go and help Marwan. It's over there. Go here. We don't have a system. We need to create right now and start putting together a system for everyone in Kitsap County to be connected. And where can you go and reach out for help? Oh, yes, my neighbor needs here. I'll call this person. We don't have anything. And I bet Kitsap County doesn't have that system yet. So we're going to be inviting all these amazing speakers that they can help us there. Mark Frost, he is a very knowledgeable and, with the Resilience and Rock, and he's ready to go. So next Wednesday, he will be here in the podcast, and he just confirmed. That's why I just have information that I sent the last week, and I just had a text message and I say yes. So that's why I wasn't able to provide that information before. Just confirm. Also, school districts. We're bringing Jenny Zapetka and Marta Little next Wednesday. And we're going to be talking about their mission as an equity, and equality, diversity. So they're holding positions, and I am so grateful and so happy that the CK district hired Marta Little. Marta Little has a lot of experience working with North Kitsap schools with the ELL program, and I think is really amazing that they finally step up and hire Martha Little. So she will be here with us as well. And by the way, Mark Frost just was calling me. So let me invite Mark to come if he's available, and I'm going to mute myself.
Absolutely. So I put this on the screen here. We're talking about this Wednesday, the day after tomorrow, correct, Martitha?
Yes, if Mark is available today, I can bring him right away.
Yep, absolutely. So that is this Wednesday. That is 5 p.m. So do tune in, subscribe, like, and share. Tamachi, what do you see as, some of the issues here in this county from an equity standpoint, and what do you think needs to be done that isn't being done right now?
Okay. Yeah, I kind of really wasn't aware of what exactly this podcast was, but I'll weigh in. Yeah, it is a problem as far as disaster preparedness. I'm not the disaster preparedness guy. I know even less about who to get in contact with. So if something happens, I'll be out in the breeze just like anybody else is. But in general, I mean, the main problem is not just information. I mean, problem number one, like 1A, B, C, and D, or whatever other letters you want to add, would fall along with just information. Because if you can't read it or you don't know where to get it, that's definitely a problem. And if you have a language barrier with whatever language you speak, trying to find it out or translate it from English that you cannot read, maybe, or that you don't understand, our syntax in English, it would be helpful to have it, in another language, or preferably your own language. The funding default, we don't have it. Personally, I think it's a lie, because you can look around the city, any city, and see that there's some type of construction going on, or some type of improvements going on, or some type of new thing getting built or added, or getting roundabouts in the middle of intersections that don't need them for nothing. But there's no funding to print extra languages on a flyer that probably costs, I don't know, $50 to get 2 or 3 or 4, I don't know, 500 from FedEx or whatever. Just add another language on there. It takes money to add a language on there, really. So, I better calm it down before my submariner erupts, because he's ready. Yeah, just information is one. The tap dance with whatever city administration, and I'm not saying they're lying. I'm just saying that you can look around and tell that there's funding for other stuff that you want.
Right.
So don't tell me there's not funding for this, but I can look at a roundabout going where it doesn't need to go, but we don't have money, or you don't have money. You still have money to pay your salary, but nobody's offering to take a pay cut, or hey, take this from take this couple of $100 a month from my salary and put it towards this. Nobody's offering that. And not like you ever see that happening. But yeah, information, points of contact, and again, that would be the same thing. Information, you need to know who, and not just who, but who that you could talk to, that you're going to understand, that preferably they would speak your own language, or be able to have it translated so they can understand it. Yeah, that's probably it. Information is probably first and foremost, because the funding thing, you're always going to hear that lie. You're going to hear that lie from whatever government. Anytime you try and get money for something they don't want to do or they don't know about, it's almost automatic. You can write it down of 3, 2, 1. Oh, we don't have the funds for that. Sorry, you have it. You just don't want to give it up. That's the problem.
Right. Or you're prioritizing other things that you believe are more important.
Exactly.
And I think what you're saying is important. I think, holistically, this is where we need to get to. I think for a very long time, we've been, from a political standpoint, we say, okay, We've got whatever the opposition is, and we need to get our folks in, whoever your folks are, and then you got to give them some time to work. And they get in, and it's just business as usual, and things don't change. And your side tends to start to look a whole lot like the other side because nothing's happening. And so, folks really do need to be held accountable, and we need tangible things to happen. And we need them to happen right now. As Tamachi's saying, okay, it's $50 to print in another language. I mean, this isn't a heavy lift, right? And we can there's money earmarked for this and that and whatever. But you can also see when these politicians run for office, who do they go and start glad-handing? What babies are they kissing? What hands are they shaking? Are they the same people? I can tell you there's some folks that still haven't been around to my building, right? And it's because I offer them nothing, right? It's not going to, sway their vote in either direction. So they don't need to come and have a conversation with me and the folks that I represent that need to have their voices heard and understand what is it that you're going to do for them, right? The people that are most vulnerable in our community, right? They'll tend to go to where it's safe. And then you have these gatekeepers that are in place to make sure that these folks stay protected. And so they stay in the space, and it's like, oh yeah, they're doing such a great job, and these folks are awesome, and they're fighting a good fight. But you look around, and you're still faced with the exact same bureaucracy that we've always been in, right? But then it's, well, you don't want the other side to get in, because if they get in, nothing's going to happen then, and everything's going to go to hell. And it's like, well, but it ain't happening now. So, something else needs to happen. So I do like, Tamachi, when folks are willing to get angry about it, because I think we do need to get angry. Folks so much want to go back to sleep. They're what is it, COVID fatigue, right? Now the NFL is back, and concerts are back, and everything else. People just want to be lulled to sleep. They don't want to fight this fight anymore. Business as usual. The extension on unemployment, that went away today. The moratorium on eviction is over here in 24 days, right? So what is going to happen? We're going into fall. The Delta variant is out of control. I'm here dealing with COVID myself, and getting vaccinated. I think I'm going to be good. I'm not good. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get sick. It just means that you're hopefully not going to be hospitalized. But I've lost my sense of smell. I've lost my sense of taste. I'm dealing with fevers. I'm pouring down sweat like I'm digging ditches in the backyard. It's crazy, right? I'm dizzy. It is what it is. And you still need to raise your children. You still, are you going to send them to school? Are you going to, possibly infect them? Because more and more kids are getting infected. Now we've got this new variant that's coming up. And as I was saying before, Dr. Fauci once said that the Delta variant wasn't a big deal, right? And now here it is, this really big deal. So, I kind of take these things with the grain. It's like, yeah, you know what? You might need to get ready and get prepared. And not wait. We cannot wait anymore. Akuyea, jump in there. And Sal has put some links in the chat that I will be posting here for people to see. And these are links that will take you to some information, some storehouses of resources.
One of the things that I'm really concerned about is we have a twisted system. I call it the twisted system because we're looking at the unders, and I always call them you're dealing with the unders, which is the underserved, the underrepresented, the underhoused, the under resource. We can keep on going with the unders. But when we're talking about equitable, relevant response to emergency and crises, we've got to do we've got to respond in an equitable way. It's not, one of the things that I learned from a very wise man that I used to work for years ago. His name was Mr. Cone, Mr. Stephen Cone. He said he used to live in California during all the fires, and they were quite wealthy, and they had a wonderful home. And he said he knew then that the only reason why they responded to him and saved their property that they lived in was because they were wealthy. And all the other communities were sacrificed. That thing stuck with me because what he was actually saying to me was, if you got the money, then we'll respond to you. If you don't, then, you butt out. And so one of the things that I would say is, what communities do we invest in as a county? And then what communities do we serve? Because we know that our communities are underserved. And so I would put that question to our leadership and to our county leaders. Do you serve the entire county in an equitable way? And if not, your priorities in emergency response should be those underserved, underrepresented, under-resourced communities, to ensure that they are being given all these resources in an equitable way. Because in my eyes, the other communities that have the resources, they have the resources to get it. They have the resources to be able to obtain all the information and the resources that they need. So as city leaders, how are you addressing those disparities within the community to ensure that all of our communities are prepared in an equitable way? That's my concern. My concern is that we have to, because the community is only as strong as what they say, the weakest link. Is that not what they always say? This chain is only as strong as the weakest link. So you got to concentrate on the weakest link. And that's not saying that communities of color are weak. It's just saying that you haven't given them the resource to be strengthened in these areas. So, I've got a lot that I can say about it, but, after 6 years, it gets really discouraging that every year we have to go beg for the resources. Can we get these things in multiple language? Can we get our first responders to come and give us this information? Can you support these events? And this is the first year that we've actually have been charged to be able to get information to the underserved community, that we have to pay for all kinds of permits and all kinds of, like, this is a party. This isn't a party. This is to prepare our communities. And there's something wrong with that, even. That our city and our county cannot support an event on the cusp of pandemic and national disasters happening everywhere. There's something very wrong that FEMA and Red Cross and all the rest of the responders, fire department, law enforcement cannot support events like this. That needs to be addressed.
Akuyea, are you saying that they're not supporting the 9/11 SOS event this Saturday?
Oh, no, I would never say anything like that. Ooh, Lord forbid. Lord forbid. No, I would never say anything like that. But it has not come without challenges, is what I will say.
Oh, and why the challenges? Why is there a challenge?
I don't know, Martitha, what are you discerning? Why are we having so many challenges to get this work done?
Challenges with, they would say, funding, that they don't have the funds to provide multi-language materials. Come on, we're in the 2021. The county has money. The county has money. You heard me say that? And now saying that they don't have money. First responders, fire department in Bremerton, I reach out, has so many challenges for them to return the call. And then, let me double check. We don't have people to be available. I mean, again, the county has a lot of money. They should have these materials in multiple languages. Again, we're talking about equity. We're talking about marginalized community, people of color. I mean, we have immigrants, many immigrants in this county. Some immigrants, they don't speak the language. They are learning, don't take me wrong. I know I have students in the college coming because they're willing to learn the language. And listen to this, students that they work up in the mountains, coming from work, not even coming to home to get dinner. Immediately they want to join into the class because they are so hungry to learn the language, for them to be heard, right? And we're not providing the basic needs, which a flyer in their own language. Yes, we have money in this county, and we have a lot of money. And I just learn, and I cannot say, I don't want people to lose positions. But yes, we have money to address these gaps, to make sure that we don't have these barriers. Again, I piggyback on Akuyea. We had to pay for permits. We had to have insurance. You know, all these requirements. We had to have meetings with the city and address all these for this event. I mean, this should not be happening. These events, when Akuyea said it has to be supported with the city of Bremerton, that eliminating the barriers. Mm-hmm. And paying for that. I mean, the city has the money. It said, come on, our mayor can just sign and say, no, this comes from the city, you're going to be supporting this event. This is for the people, for the people. We're not doing, as she mentioned, dancing or singing, bringing entertainment for, and hey, you have to come to this event and you have to get your ticket. No, this is free for the community and addressing the needs of the community. So it's eliminating all this racism and treating everyone with respect, treating our community with respect by providing all their needs. And this is the basic needs, that providing materials, so simple, only bilingual materials. And again, we are still battling. So we would like to see that support. And I think more than ever with COVID, we have learned so many lessons. We have learned that still gaps out there. We have learned that people is dealing with a lot of stress. People is dealing with financially. So we need to support them. We need to find the ways, how can we best support our community to eliminate all these barriers. So that's why we are here and inviting the community to come this Saturday at the Evergreen Park at 9 o'clock. We're going to be starting our program exactly at 9:11 a.m. So if you can come to the Evergreen Park Amphitheater. So we're going to be waiting for you. We're going to have a lot of information. We're going to have Kitsap County Sheriff, Peninsula providing COVID vaccines, Peninsula Community Clinic. We're having some school districts going to be providing information. Catalyst going to be there. Kitsap Immigrant Assistance Center. We're going to be there. Living Arts Leadership going to be there, and many more other organizations. Goodwill going to be there with an informational booth table, because Goodwill provides, yes, you can go shopping there, but also provide education to our community. And so we are so ready to support our community by providing these resources. I remember years ago, oh my goodness, I can't tell, when Kitsap Mesa Redonda started with the first community and resources fair. Do you remember that, Akuyea, that I was able to bring again, back then our community clinic wasn't able to support, and I can say that was a big thing right there. I was able to bring CMAR from Seattle, Washington State University. I was able to bring the nurses and everyone, at the Olympic College. It was a huge first, and Akuyea were, piggyback in this, that I was able to bring this Kids Up Mesa Redonda to the community, and for the Hispanic community and inclusion, because I said the Hispanic community, but also for everyone. And from there, I wanted to see more. Other people can bring the Kids Up, some resources in Kids Up County. So it was very successful. I brought dancing, the folklore dance, live music, a band. I was able to bring the live radio station from Seattle. So again, we can make happen things, but again, someone has to, as you mentioned, Marwan, in the beginning, this legacy has to continue. Someone later on, maybe Miss Karen, Martitha, no longer here in this world, but we need younger, generations to continue with this job, to continue with this legacy, to support our community, to support and reaching out to the marginalized community, to everyone. So it just, we are in this all together. Ms. Akuyea, remember first Kids Up Community Fair and Resources that I was able to put together, and Akuyea came and said, "What are you doing?" Do you remember that? It was a joy that I was able to provide this support to the community, and then after that, continued putting these events, and then other people started getting together and bringing those resources to the community. Again, I'm not tired. I will continue. What about you, Akuyea? I know you're not here neither.
Well, it's not time to lay down. We have to continue with intervention and prevention. I have always believed in, if you do these things and put these infrastructures and different things in place, then it can really help us when it's not if things are going to happen. It's not if disasters are going to happen. It's when they happen. I don't want to be reactionary. I don't want to just be, oh my God, here we are. No, we should have some things in place. We should be doing intervention and prevention as much as possible to be able to, when it happens, then we'll be able to weather and we'll be able to save lives. That is the goal. The goal here is we want to make sure that we are saving lives. It's a supportive service. If you can get supportive service for the saving of lives, then yeah, that's it. We're talking about the human cost. Yes, there will be a human cost in all of these things, but I think that we can do better with putting in some intervention and preventative services and address some of these gaps so that we don't continue to have a Katrina. We don't continue to have all of these things where we have seen from our own lived in experiences that we needed to look at our infrastructure, and we needed to make sure that we were addressing them and closing those gaps now. I'm up here on the East Coast, and I can tell you the mayor of New York and Philly and Jersey, and they're looking at, okay, we have not been hit like this before. We need to make sure we're looking at our infrastructure. And they came together in a unified, collective way with all of their community organizations, all of their emergency responders, all their city leaders. And that's the way to get it done. The stuff that we're doing now, there's no need for it, because we can be preparing our entire county in a more equitable way. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything else.
So let me ask you a question. I'm gonna pose it, and I'm gonna make a comment so you can think about it.
Mhm.
And my question is this: let's say that the powers that be have heard this podcast, and they say, "Okay, you know what? For some reason, the communication wasn't getting through. You say you need this printed in multiple languages and put here. Boom, there you go. It's done. What needs to be done after that is my question. Now, as you're thinking about that, my statement is this: it appears to be what we often run into is, on the one hand, you have folks that are willing to acknowledge that institutional racism exists, that there are these institutions of oppression that stand, right? And on the one hand, they acknowledge that. Then, as we're trying to do the work and we're finding that there's these barriers, all of a sudden there's some kind of cognitive dissonance where they don't understand why there's still this big gap that exists, or the communication isn't getting there, the services aren't getting there, people aren't utilizing the services, people don't trust the services, whatever the case may be. And so in the case of this Saturday, where this is paramount, that the BIPOC community has access, low income folks need access, those most vulnerable need access, then why would you have these small organizations have to pool their meager resources together to pay for insurance for a county park that you own, right? So there's things where you have to do something different because these barriers exist, and the barriers exist. So why all of a sudden you're going to have folks do the exact same thing when we know that doesn't work? So in conjunction with the question that I posed, what happens after the money comes in, and my statement, just elaborate on your thought there. Tamachi, do you want to go first? Or do you want Akuyea to go first there?
Yeah, I'll go first because I won't be nearly as long. The general problem is, okay, so yeah, they see, let's say they see the podcast, here's your money, here's your translated documents. Okay. Well, okay, so after that, it's not done. And that seems to be, at least in my opinion, the popular out, is because it gets acknowledged. Oh, we acknowledge that there has been some racial problems, or we acknowledge that this wasn't in this language, so now it is, and now we're done. So we don't want to hear nothing else about it, or we shouldn't expect to hear anything else about it because we did it this one time. You wanted it and you got it, so there you go. And basically, what they're saying, what they don't say, they don't say it the way that you expect to hear it. What they're saying after that is, we gave it to you, shut up. That's what they're saying, but that's not what they're telling you to your face. So yeah, once they give it to you, okay, yeah, no, then it's prevalent on us to still hold their feet to the fire to make sure it continues. It ain't a one-time deal. Racism doesn't end because you acknowledge that it was a problem this year with some health thing, that racism's a detriment to the health in Kitsap County, and now it's over. Are you kidding me? Come on, it's not just this year. There was racism last year. It was racism 2019 and 2018 and before. And there's going to be racism next year too. So because you acknowledge it this year, or you pass something and somebody signed their name to it, doesn't mean it's over. But that's and I say they loosely because there's a lot of, just to be fair, I'm entirely opinionated, but just to be fair, there are a lot of people that have been putting in the work, putting the skin in the game, putting their names on the line, putting their reputations on the line. So it's not like this is just one or two. There are a lot, and they tend to stay in the background, or they get pushed to the background. Maybe they request to be in the background. That's where I usually like to be, is just kind of in the back, with the stuff. But yeah, once they acknowledge it, once they make their initial attempts to appease something, and whatever that something is, whether it's this event or getting this printed in another language or getting this available to communities that are underserved. Once that is done, it's not over. But the popular opinion, at least again, in my opinion, that once whoever they are, do that one thing, then they say, okay, well, we're done. We gave it to you. And that's it. So shut up. We gave it to you. why do you still want this? Well, we wanted it. We've been wanting it. And now that you gave it this one time, don't mean it's going to like stick for the next 20 years. We got to make it stick for the next however many years. But you are still part of that process. And let me digress back to the 9/11 thing with the insurance and whatever. The last time we had it at the park was 2019. Obviously, nothing happened last year because of the pandemic. And during that time, there have been some leadership changes, let's say, in either city government or Parks and Rec or whichever. Because I know, in fact, 2 of the guys that I have talked to are 2 years new. Like they just came on the scene in like 2019, maybe late 2018. So it hasn't been any longer than 2 years. And one of the guys I talked to apparently had some type of misconception as to what this 9/11 event actually was. Because he was trying to say, at least in his mind, just by talking with him, seemed like he thought 9/11 was going to be another Juneteenth, where he was just trying to make sure that we weren't going to be having entertainment and bouncy houses and this, that, or the other, and trying to tell me,
Tamachi, let me cut you off. So why the hell is that okay that we can jump around and do bouncy houses for Juneteenth when we get freed from slavery, but for a 9/11 commission, that's not acceptable, but it was okay there? I'm sorry, I just had to. Go ahead, please continue.
I got some opinions on that too, but I'll leave those for a separate occasion. But so he was like, yeah, we just want to make sure it's not, it's a somber occasion, whatever. And my submariner almost popped off because I told him, look, man, one of my best friends got killed at the Pentagon in 9/11. He was, as far as I know, as far as I've been able to research, he is the only submariner that got killed that day. So Karen and I had to go back and bury this man. So you don't got to tell me a damn thing about how somber it's supposed to be. So, and he didn't say anything more about after that. But like, look, man, you don't gotta remind me how somber it was. I remember exactly how somber it was when I was sitting at his graveside, looking at the firing squad firing off 21 rounds. You don't gotta tell me that garbage. But I think there was just a misconception on his part because he's new, and I'm willing to concede that. Yeah, you're new, you didn't know, but well, let me help you. As far as where it's at in the park, yeah, it is still at Evergreen. It was not at the Memorial, which is where we've been having it. And I think, I'll just go ahead and, if we got to bite the bullet because we were late, and I think we were, in trying to get that venue, trying to get that location, and somebody else got it all day. So we were just late. Now if in fact, and I told this to one of those city guys, if in fact you were holding it for somebody and didn't give it to us because of that, okay, then there's going to be a problem. There's going to be some questions y'all going to have to answer. And maybe you and I and this guy and the mayor might need to have some conversations and see what the hell. But if it's just because we were too late, I'm okay with that. We were late. I get it. We've gotten it much earlier in years gone by. Obviously not last year because nothing happened last year. But we've been there 6 years now, 5 years. So again, probably just some misconceptions. New people at different levels of leadership that don't exactly understand what our event was or is. But once you explain it to them, that should be it. Now, if their policies have in fact changed that, okay, they can no longer, I guess, offer the park, not essentially for free, but uninsured, and you have to provide the insurance. Okay, that's cool too, but that should be something that gets disseminated. And if it hasn't, it's not my fault. That should be something that the city or the Parks and Rec or whoever it is that makes sure that information is supposed to go out to anybody that's trying to get a gazebo to have a barbecue. I mean, do you have to have insurance for that? Well, we don't know. Or do you have to have insurance for that now? Well, okay. Well, now you need to put that information out. That's my soapbox.
And I don't know how all of this runs, but it seems interesting that many of the folks that are being acknowledged are people that have worked in government. So it's kind of, I don't know, it just seems like a disconnect. And if you're about community, then you need to find the ways to be about community. And it also seems a little peculiar that you were saying that this person is new, and so maybe that was what's behind that. but it seems like the new people really seem very familiar to the old people, and so where's the cultural competence? Yeah, that whole thing. Well, we don't want it to be a party like it was for for Juneteenth, because I mean that was just slavery. This was a tragedy. Like what the hell? Martitha, jump in there and
yeah, because that had to do with this. I'll say it. That had to do with that.
Well, yes. One thing I think we can address this, and I'm so committed, and I know I'm in many different other committees, but I'm sure, I think Karen Vargas and I are going to be stepping up and going to, I'm telling you, we're going to go there and be in the mayors and commissioners meetings. And we're going to be demanding this. They have to change. We're going to be asking, change your bill, because this is not going to happen. We're not going to be facing these barriers again when we're doing something good for the community. They should be eliminating all these barriers, and you're going to be asking or to change, eliminate that barrier. To provide, they have to provide the insurance, they have to provide the permit. The city must pay for this. No small organization that we don't have the funds, period. This organization doesn't receive any fund from no one. We are small organizations and we should not be paying for this. So again, we're going to be getting to those meetings that the commissioners of Kitsap County, also the mayors, always have what you may call. It's just my mind went blank. But let me see if I can remember these other meetings that they hold in the monthly basis. I also wanted to answer to SAR. It says, can you do the translation and give it to them? Why we had to give it to them? Is what I said in the beginning. Why always going to them? They had to come to the community, right? And it's one of the things, they must provide these materials in multiple languages. They are the one who have the money. We don't have I did translated the 9/11 SOS flyer. I didn't charge for that, not a penny, because we just wanted to reach out to the community, for everyone to come together, for them to benefit from these events. So why should we going to be always asking other people to bring and put the, thank you so much, I wish I could have it in many other languages, but I was able to just translate the flyer, and then we're working really hard putting the logos and everything. So again, they must provide this in different languages. As I ask many organizations during this pandemic and before, can you please put your website in multiple languages? And I mentioned to Mayor Wheeler for the city of Bremerton, and I mentioned to the Kitsap Health District, and yes, they were able, because again, you had to ask and going continuously, you need to provide this. We, the community, need this. And they were able to have it. So Kitsap Public Health, they do have translated the website in multiple languages now. Kayak, I asked also the executive director of Kitsap Community Resources, you need to provide your website in multiple languages. Well, we are here to support, but we're not going to do the job for you. And they were able to do it. South Kitsap Food Bank also reach out to the executive director. Jennifer, you need to provide this. And oh yes, so it's a matter of asking and demanding, practically, they say, we the community need this in multiple languages. It's how you can accomplish, when you are persistent and say, yes, you need to put this in this language, you need to put your website in this. So how we can start. So again, I'm not about to it's like raising a child. And I just think this way. If you give your child everything free, here, there you go. That child will never be available for you, right? Because he has everything free. So he will not appreciate one penny that you put in this child, So it's the same thing. You provide everything to the city, to all these organizations for free. No, they had to do the job. They had to work for that. And that's why we vote for our people to be there. They want to vote. Okay, next time, what are you doing for me? For the community. For you, as an individual, as a resident of this county. We want this, and that we're going to see it. So again, we're grateful. We have really, yes, we built the bridge. The connection is there. But what about after that? If you don't demand, if you don't pursue and be persistent and going again every day, we need this, we need this. If you don't do it, nothing's going to happen. So we need to just be persistent and address this and say, hey, we need this and we need a time frame. When can you have this done? Because it's the way we had to go and sit down and, in their meetings. Any meetings that the city or county is hosting, we need to be there because we are the voice of our community. We're representing our community. We're representing people of color. So we need to be more engaged in that.
So let me ask you, most Kitsap residents will remember that the voter guide was passed out here a while ago. Did any of those who were running for office come and seek out Mesa Redonda or Living Life and talk about and ask what are the needs of your community and what they're willing to do should they be elected? Have any of them reached out to you, just out of curiosity?
Mayor Wheeler invited to come to Mesa Redonda many times, and actually I do have a document from the city that supporting Mesa Redonda and says, yes, reach out and we will support your community.
So what does that mean by supporting, right? Mayor Wheeler's been mayor for how long?
I know, just right, that we're going to support. But again, we have these barriers that where are the multiple languages information in the building, right? Mayor Wheeler is being in Mesa Redonda, providing information, giving data, what's going on with the city. But again, I haven't seen multiple languages information for the community. That they are supporting the community with emergency preparedness, for example. Has so many barriers with emergency preparedness. We had to reach out to other people hired for emergency preparedness to be involved. Let's put it this way. You know what I mean? We had to start reaching out to other people. That way, hey, yes, you're going to be there. Again, we need to be more unified all together. And going, yes, we need to go and knock doors because they will not come and knocking doors on us. So as a community, we need to go and do it, be determined. That's the only one. Mayor Wheeler comes here because we invited, also law enforcement. Other than that, they don't reach out. They don't reach out only when they're running. Only when they're running. So it's when I had to sit and say, what are you? Congressman, he is being a great supporter, and I have seen Congressman and changing policies. I know with when it comes to immigration, he's been very supportive. So my respects to him. Laura Simmons, she's been amazing supporter also, supporting the bills. So Emily Randall. So we have, we are changing now that they are supporting the community and doing work for the community. So we are very grateful. They're going to be with us. In our agenda, Mayor Wheeler going to be there. Also, Senator Emily Randall, she's in the agenda, as well as Tara Simmons. She's going to be speaking this Saturday at the event. as well as Kitsap Commissioner Ed Wolf. So hopefully we can bring them next Wednesday to speak here through you, Marwan, to the podcast. But yes, so we are all these together and we want to see changes, not just talking. We want to see changes because it's easy to talk and say, yes, I'm here for you guys. I'm going to be supporting you. Now it's time that through the pandemic, the COVID, we learned so many lessons about
We
this.
definitely
How
need
to survive.
tangibles.
Excuse me?
I said we definitely need tangibles for sure.
Yes. So now it's time for change and solutions. Period.
So let me ask Akuyea. Akuyea, have any of these politicians that were running, have they reached out to your organizations or to you personally and have said what were the needs of your community and the people you serve and what they're willing to do?
I can say we have had some quite a few supporters. Of course, we've worked with Congressman Derek Kilmer, who has continually been a support over the years with many of our projects. And I've sat down with Emily Randall. We've had podcasts. We've spoken about equity. We've spoken about different things with education, as well as Tara Simmons, with all of those that are coming out of the system with reentry, working with strengthening our families and what that looks like for us. And of course, Ed Wolf has always been a supporter of the event. He's always said, Karen, what is it that you need? But you're right, Marwan, when we talk about how we'll move forward, we need stability. We need to make sure that, we're looking at not just our city infrastructure, but how we engage with those populations. When I say diverse populations across our county, that is important, because if they don't have relationships, of course they're not going to engage. We're talking about operations. When you're talking about emergency preparedness, how are they engaging? How they engage with diverse populations, to me, is just as important as engaging, because many of the engagements have been unhealthy. And so we know that with our law enforcement, and we know that with other entities, whether they're seeking housing, whether they are looking for resources in the midst of a pandemic. We understand there are so many different dynamics when you're talking about how to respond and engagement and being supportive. Yes, because I can ask you, the mayor, and say, Mayor Wheeler, we need this support. But when it comes down to how that policy, procedure, and how you roll it down, it can look totally different. Coming to a podcast like this and say, yes, we support you. But then when we put hand to action, no support is there. Those are the things, we have to connect the dots, and we have to make sure that they're doing in a collective, consistent way, not just lip servicing us, because we've received lip service for many, many years. It's, like I said, it's where the rubber meet the road. Put action to what you're talking about, and sometimes that ball has been dropped. And so when we're talking about interrupting systemic practice, policy, procedures, we've got to look at a lot of different, from multiple levels, not just at it. I'm talking about top to bottom, bottom to top. How does it flow? Because like I said, we know that there have been many promises, but what has actually been done has not been done. Otherwise, we wouldn't be on this podcast right now. We've been promised that things were going to be done in an equitable way, but here we are in the midst of a pandemic, still dealing with the disparities, the inequities, and the racism and everything else. So, we still got work to do. And so as we move forward, when we're looking at how our leadership is engaged with all of this work, if we're looking at how our community is engaged in all of this work, how our organizations are engaged in this work. That's why I thought it was important when we started Kitsap Erase Coalition, that it's going to take all of us as a coalition to look at the systemic pieces with racism and look at equity, race, and community engagement,
Mm.
so that we can understand that this thing has to flow from the head all the way down to the bottom. We can no longer continue to do things the way we used to, because we have seen over the years, time immemorial, it does not work. It doesn't work. And there's always going to be a disconnect. There's always going to be despair. It's always going to be something that needs to be addressed. And it's not like this work will continue even after I've gone on, because guess what? We're doing this work for this generation, and the next generation has to do the work for its generation, and continue. And we hope things could get better as years go on. But all of us have to engage in the work of change if that's what we really want to see. And it, of course, we all know, that change doesn't happen overnight. That language has been used over, centuries. And so we continue to work on the change.
And it can't just be Martitha and Akuyea, the
No,
ones that are always leading the change. Other voices need to be, present and putting the work in, right? Because
right,
change gonna come, but we've been saying that since the civil rights era. So
right.
change gonna
Before
come
that,
when more people are willing to make this thing change and not talk about wanting it to change or just cheering Martitha or Koye on from the sideline, say, "You go, girl," and you be a martyr for the cause and burn yourself out, and no
child,
one else is there to pick up the mantle.
let
So
me say it like this, Marvon. I'm seeing things and I have privileges that my ancestors didn't have when they were fighting for their rights and they were fighting for their liberties. And I'm experiencing things that they haven't. And guess what? My children will be experiencing things as well as time goes on. So we all have to step into this place if we want to make change and make things better for humanity. Where will we begin to come in and step into this work? Because like I said, I can be a bystander in all of this stuff too. Now don't think I can't lay down on the couch and just say, all right, that's your problem, and go on about my business, because I can, because I got free will and I can make those choices as well. And like I said, it's all of it's not just for me, it's for my children and my children's children and for their children and their children's children. So I'm thinking about future. I'm thinking about our children as well as now. I'm thinking about myself right now. Let something happen and go down. I'm saying, where's my family gonna be in the middle of the mess? Because I'm up here now dealing with stuff that rolled down with this last flood and storm that came through here, and I'm like, OMG, are we just butt out? So we gotta make change for life. Period.
So as we bring our podcast to a close for today, one of the things that pricked my ears when you were speaking was the accountability. And it's not good enough for our politicians and our leadership to come onto a podcast or come into one of our meetings and talk to us one time and say, okay, I checked it off the list, right? Because they go and they spend time with their donors all the time, right? They're out there, getting photo ops and all these different opportunities and doing these things that they have to be held accountable, which means that you have to continue to come back and update as to what progress you're making, right? Even if you're not successful, you have to talk about what it is that you're trying to do, what you've done, and that way we can continue to support you. And if we can see you making the change, then we can go on. Oh yeah, there's definitely a naked booty on the TV. But as we close, there's two sides to every coin. And there's the one side where we're saying, look, to our politicians, to our leadership, to the community, you got to do better. You got to step up. We need to see change. It's all great that you're in our corner and you come out when it's time for you to come out and you say all the right things, but we haven't seen the change that we need to see. But on the other side of it, as I was saying before, it can't just be Martitha and Akuyea doing the work. So what do we need to do as community people, not as leaders, just as people that fall into these demographics to actually make the change? What's our job, right? What is our job?
To reach out and to organizations like, us and other organizations that to look at their mission. I will say first, you as a community resident, asking those questions. For example, the CK district, the school districts, the Bremerton school districts, South Kitsap, just looking into reaching out and say, hey, do you have diversity in your board? Number one. Reaching to the government. Do you have diversity? What is your mission? How can we support as a community? Well, us as residents, what do we need? Reaching out and telling your story and saying what exactly you need from us, leaders, and, and who represent us, our city, our county. What do we need from them? We need this. So we need to be persistent and follow up. Okay, we requested this, that we need better neighborhoods, eliminating all crimes, things like that. So I think looking after each other as a neighbor and following up, having meetings in the neighborhoods, have a plan, and following up with constant meetings and also going to their meetings, as I mentioned earlier, get involved with the school districts, get involved with anything, even at the hospitals. They do have a board meetings there. They host meetings at the hospital and just, I think, asking for diversity in there. Is what we need to do. Just reaching out to neighbor and coming to this podcast, hey, what are your needs? We need this in our neighborhood. Or the piece of education, for example, family, the Fortaleciendo Familias. I used to provide these classes, strengthening families, asking the school, hey, we need this program back. The community needs support, and it's a piece of the education. As as much as we can support them, small organizations, we need to reach out to bigger, school districts and government. Reaching out to Martha, we can come to this podcast and bring in speakers. I think this is a good way. Media is so powerful nowadays, and we can do anything, come up with different topics, not just these two organizations, bringing other organizations here to the table, and we can have a discussion. We can have a discussion and just, but following up, making sure that this not going to go just because at times of politicians that you need our vote. As you mentioned, Marwan, earlier, let's bring them back and say, where you at now? I know we requested it in such day, and the community needs this. Where you at with the project? Mr. Mayor, we know that we need this service here, but it hasn't happened. It's been 2 or 3 months. What can you do as a mayor? We need responses. We need solution to this. So it's just to be persistent and to be involved of anything. You know, I know I'm involved in many different boards, and it's just one of the things always, you know, requesting have diversity. If you want to start from something, have diversity in your board. Like I'm with the Kids Up Racial Empowerment Fund and Equity Fund, and then we requested it. You know, if you want to apply for funds, you need to have diversity in your board. And then, hey, I'm sorry, you wasn't able to qualify because you don't have diversity. So it's one way, you know, you have to change in the systematically for everything. And the other thing is asking to have cultural competency. That would be, you know, for example, for the government, when I mentioned the shipyard, how many people work in the shipyard, and you just got this, you know, not even maybe 1%, you know, of people of color. Now asking, where is your equity and diversity? I need to, you know, talk to your board. I need to host, you know, to come to your meeting. So asking, but I think this, it will be in the higher level that mayor can request that to the shipyard, you know, with inclusion. So reaching out and asking, and we as a community as a whole, we need to not to ask, to demand, we need this. I'm sorry, but I had to say, we need to demand what we need. We don't need to ask. Demanding, we need this. The community needs this service. It's more involvement.
Every podcast, power is taken, not given, right?
Accountability. Thank you.
Marty, what do we need to do as a regular person to see the change that we're advocating for here today?
Oh man, again, this is coming from years of semi-frustration to full frustration with whatever program, you know, that you get yourself involved with. You run into the same thing. Everybody's got a suggestion. Oh, you did this wrong, or you should have, or why didn't you do such and such? And look, I'm more than willing to take your exceptions, or not your exceptions, your suggestions and your ideas. And, you know, if it's something that I'm involved with, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to try and see if I can't make use of your ideas or your suggestions. What I need more, though, is these and you. You know, your suggestions are cool, but, you know, after a while, you know, just to be honest, I don't want to hear your suggestions no more. You know, not like they're not good ideas or good suggestions, or I don't value your opinion, you're my friend or whatever. You know, I want to see you start putting foot to work, foot to the pavement, hand, you know, shoulder to the wheel. And, you know, a lot of people tend to miss that second part. You know, they think they're doing the most help by just giving you more and more ideas or more criticisms. It's kind of actually what it turns up being is more of a criticism than an actual suggestion to make it better. It's, oh, well, it was too long, or it wasn't long enough, or you should have, or how come you didn't have this person? Or we're like, well, how come you didn't help me get that person? If you knew you could have got him, you could have helped me get him. So it's a little late now for you to be telling me how come I didn't have this. If you had the resource to get me that, or you had the inroad or whatever to help me get this that you're saying that we didn't have, why didn't you get me that? Or why didn't you help me get that? Instead of just telling me now after that we didn't have it. Okay, yeah, we don't, and we didn't. But if you could have got it for us, now's not the time to be telling me that.
Right.
You know, so mostly it's just that. I mean, yeah, the ideas and suggestions are always helpful. They always are. But after a while, it gets to be the same people, usually, because we kind of keep the same circle of people that we operate with. Same people that, you know, offering roughly the same types of suggestions and ideas and criticisms. But when you go, well, will you help me with that? Then there's a bunch of awa, and a bunch of the tap dancing, and, you know, that part we can definitely do without. You know, and I'm just as guilty So I'm not just throwing stones saying, oh, nobody's offering to help. I do it too. I am definitely selective, especially now as I've gotten just a little older. I've definitely gotten selected as to what I want to attach my efforts to and my passions to, and I get that. But, after a while, suggestions are not meaningless, but they're definitely not as helpful as these people that offer them to you intend them to be. We could use your help more than your suggestions. Bring those too. But while you're helping, you drop your suggestions while you're helping.
You're definitely preaching to the choir there. Being running an organization, I get suggestions all the time. You should do this, and it would be great if y'all did that and this and that. I mean, this has nothing to do with the mission or anything else, but this is what you need to be doing. It's like, well, we're doing this and this and this and this and this. Oh yeah, but you should do that too. So yeah, you kind of come in. You wanna hit that. You can do it under this umbrella. And we'll even give you some resources so that you can actually do that. It's a great idea. No, we can't.
Yeah.
So you're definitely preaching to the choir there. I feel the pain on that. Akuyea, you will leave us off. What do we need to do to be accountable, to actually start to manifest this change that is so desperately needed?
Wow. One of the things, I don't want to be a Michael Jackson quoter, but Michael Jackson said it starts with the man in the mirror. If you want to see change starts first with you. Nothing changes until you do. That's Living Life Leadership's motto. Change begins with you, and nothing changes until you do. So I think the first thing is to do some self-examination. What are you concerned about? What are you passionate about? I can't expect my neighbor or the next one to advocate for me or for my children or for things that I feel need to be changed. I have to begin to lift up my own voice and say, these are things that have concerned me, have concerned my children, my family. When I first moved here to Washington State, and I found myself one of the only African Americans on Bainbridge Island, and I found that my children were being racially bullied at the school, that things were going on. I picked my little self up, went up to that school, said, no, this is not what's going to happen here. I got involved with the school district. I said, where is your multicultural advisory council? Who's doing what? I begin to inquire. I begin to say, these are things that will not be tolerated. And begin to, whether it was within our community. I remember when my kids were being racially profiled in the community. I took my little self down to the law enforcement and I said, my children and I will not be a Bob on Bainbridge Island, being black on Bainbridge, and that's your code for us. And we're not going to be, marginalized. My kids are not going to be followed everywhere they go. No, you have to begin to address it straight on. Begin to talk about it, and then get like-minded folks within your community, your neighbors, and say, look, if this is a concern for you, then yes, you need to come alongside and help support some of this work. And I don't know any other way to address my concern but to address my concern and begin to bring it to the forefront, begin to ask and inquire and check those boxes. Like they said, they checking boxes. I'm checking boxes too. And so, that's what I would say to my parents that are concerned about their kids or their family members or even the leadership that they've elected or anything. If you've got a concern or you've got something that you want to address, then yes, you go straight on. I have no problem making the ask if this is what I need. I'll come straight to you and ask you for it. And if you can't give it to me, and I know you done gave it to the other person and you didn't give them no problem, I'm asking questions. Why you giving me pushback when I clearly see this other person, you just waltzed along and went on about it. So yes, I look for those things that are unjust, things that are not equitable, and said, because I have a right as well. I pay taxes like anybody else. I have a right just like anybody else. And when I feel like that is not valued, and my concerns are not being addressed, then I have a problem with that. And yes, I'm gonna shift the narrative on it.
You know, I hear a lot from folks that will say, we shouldn't have to do this. It's 2021. And my response to them is, whether we should have to do it or not, it needs to be done. And your children's future is at stake. Your elder years are at stake. How do you want to exist in this world, in this community, in this city, in this county, wherever you're going to be as you age, God willing, into your 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, right? And so the things that you do now, these are the things that have to be prioritized, right? And doesn't mean that you have to do everything. No one expects you to be Martitha. No one expects you to be Akuyea or Tamachi. They expect you to be you, but they expect you to be involved, to find that thing that you're passionate about, and then make yourself heard, seen, right? Power is taken, it's not given, and there is power in numbers. And so, as Akuyea was saying, find those like-minded individuals that have that same passion for what it is. Maybe it is the PTA through the school district. Maybe it is health equity. Maybe it is, police reform. Whatever that situation may be, right? It could be the environment, right? Find like-minded folks and then be an advocate, be present, have your perspective be heard. Because if you're not at the table, it's not being heard at all. But you got to get there first, find out what's being said, and then make sure that you say something, and then bring some other folks along with you so that they can say it even louder, because your voice is amplified as more people are together. I'm going to leave it there. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. This was an excellent podcast. This Wednesday, we have quite a few more folks coming. So the same time, 5 p.m., you can follow us on YouTube. Just type in my name, MarWanCameron, and you will find the Conduit. There are lots of things called the Conduit, so if you type in the Conduit, it will be hard to find. But you can also follow us on Facebook under Gather Together, Grow Together. All right? So this Wednesday again at 5 p.m., but even more importantly, this Saturday at Evergreen Park, the National Day of Service and Remembrance, the 9/11 20th anniversary commemoration. This is the 6th anniversary for the 9/11 SOS Commission to honor our first responders. Emergency preparedness, providing protection to our families and our community. We have some great, powerful folks that are doing the work, that are sacrificing a lot of themselves to create a better place for us to be in. They need your help, and it is time. But for all of us, I am Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit, and we will see you on Wednesday.